Welcome to the Model Rail Replacement Podcast, helping you get to your onward journey. A friendly service that helps you get from A to B, or probably nowhere at all.
Let's get ready to model. It's the Model Rail Replacement Podcast, and I'm your host, James. And with me is co host and producer.
Sam, hello everyone.
Hello, Sam. He didn't mute me that time, right?
No, it didn't mute you. So for those of you at home, James did a much louder one on the first attempt of this, and our recording software automatically muted him because he was too loud. So you got although it was loud, it's not as loud as it initially was. But yes, you're all good, James. How are you?
Well, how am I? I'm still insulted by being muted, to be honest. Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. Yes, I'm very well, thank you. And yourself?
Yeah, I'm good. The weather has held up, and for the first time in a while, I have got I think pretty much every window open in my house to try and circulate as much air as physically possible in order to not be drowning in my own sweat. But otherwise, I'm good. What have you been up to model wise?
What have I been up to model-wise? Well, let's have a think. I went to the Oxfordshire Narrow Gauge Modelers Running Day in Sibford Village Hall in Oxfordshire. So I found out where it was. And it turns out it wasn't too far from me. And I was like, oh, that's a lot closer than I imagined. It's in a part of Oxfordshire I don't really venture into because, don't know, just never go into that corner. But there it was there. So I went and had a little look there, and they had their modular. So they've got a big modular layout called Long Sibford, and it's made up of various different modules. There's all sorts there. There's Linton and Barnstable stuff, and a bit of Wales. There's some South Africa. So yeah, it's all a bit fun. And then they took one of their modules away and made it a separate layout by putting a fiddle yard on the side of it, and it became like a little layout on its own, which I found quite fun to watch because usually you just see the trains just passing backwards and forwards through it. But in this occasion, they were bringing the train in and they have to run round and make sure it's out of the way before the next one arrived and sort of shunting around. Yeah, it was quite fun to watch. And then they bought a few home layouts to display as well. So it was a nice little day out. It didn't cost a penny if you didn't want to pay a penny, but they were asking for donations, so I did put a donation in the box. And then I put a video on YouTube. It's over 1,000 people have seen already, so I'm hoping other people enjoyed what I saw. But yeah, modeling wise, what have I been doing? I've been doing this Rail 200 board thing. Um, so I have managed to install all the signals onto the board. They all work. So you can signal the trains to your heart's content. And of course, because they're signals, you need a signal box. So I've got a little signal box on there now as well. Nice little scratch built signal box based on, I think it's called Wife Ham box, which is the little preserved signal box at the Bluebell Railway on, I say, the upside platform because the trains would have gone to London from that way back in the day. I can't remember if it's platform one or two. I assume it's two. Or would it be platform one for London? Anyway, it's the little box in the corner. I've sort of based it on that design. And yeah, I'm quite pleased with it. It's very Hendon-esque. I've even done the watercolor brickwork for it. And so yeah, I've just been working on that, and now I'm starting to do some scenery on the board. If it gets finished for September is another question, but
July is fast approaching, and I feel that neither of us
Gorgeous.
are ready.
I know. And I need to get back on the 009 as well. I've been neglecting that. I've got loads of shops and houses to do, and oh, I don't know. And then the rest of the room's just an absolute tip. I don't know how it keeps happening. I keep tiling it up, and then it's just so messy. So messy in it. There's so much in it because I've got the boys rail 200 diorama in here where we've got nowhere to put it. There's nowhere to store it. And you can't put it sideways because the trees start to lean, so it has to be stored flat. And I don't want to put it in the shed because the shed gets too hot this time of year, so I don't want that to make anything warp on it. So yeah, it's so just a dilemma really. And oh, yeah.
Could you not send the board off early, or is it you can only start sending them from a particular time?
You send photos of what you've built,
Right.
and then I think if you get selected, then they take the board off your hands, and then you get it back later, I think.
Okay.
Not sure. Or maybe you just get asked to bring it along to the exhibition. I don't know. Maybe it's like if you can't make it to the exhibition, it gets sent there, or you could bring it along. I don't know. I don't know what the plan is. Because I'm not even sure where it's going to be at. Rumor is it's the November X Wally, what the BRM's Festival of Modelling NEC is that's the rumor anyway, which kind
What
of makes sense because there's a whole thread on our M web for it. So
what about Picorama? Would it not be somewhere down that neck of the woods?
that's fine as long as they do it in the summer, so we can have a little holiday down there. You know, if you get invited along, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm with you. I'm with you on that one.
But
Um,
Birmingham in the winter's fine because it's always grey in Birmingham anyway. So I saw a blue sky once. It was in December, ironically. Come out of the hotel and went, what the hell is that? The sky's blue in Birmingham. I've never seen that before. So there we are. How
cool.
about you? What you been up to? Have you been
Uh,
doing any TT 120?
I have been doing some TT 120, James. I now have started running the lines up the incline. So, um, a couple of months ago, a couple of months ago, that's a complete lie. Earlier this month, I did actually glue down the inclines ready for laying the track because I wanted to make sure the glue was fully dry and everything was not going to move when I started laying track on it. So luckily, that's all been done a while ago, and I've started now that the four main lines are starting to run up the incline. So they are going up. I'm trying to judge how far, long enough that I'm testing my sanity. And I have realised that because I've been using insulated rail joiners ready for when and if I do move it to an automation, I realised that the sole rail joiners that I've put on that provide power to the track are right at the other end of the fiddle yard. So I might need to start soldering in some feeders to the main line. So we'll see how that goes because we all know how much I hate soldering. But I have been doing TT and we do have lines effectively going 17 foot of the loft.
Ah, that's cool. Joel, we've actually been doing some TT as well. But,
Have you? What have you been up to?
yes. Well, to be honest, it was mostly just playing trains, but the boy's been selling his N-gauge stuff, and he's had a little bit of money from selling it. But Hornby were doing an offer on their HST train set where if you put a code in, you'd get it for £149 with free delivery. And we were straight on that one. So yeah, we picked up the HST train set, and yeah, what a lovely model that is. It's
It's
very nice.
so good, isn't it? Like I was genuinely surprised of how nice it looks, and the coaches are fantastic for it as well.
So yeah, so we got that, and then our friend Steve, the British railroader, sorted us out for a Class 66 at a very reasonable price, and he threw in a few extras as well when the box arrived. He also put a note in saying, "Watch the British Railroader; it's a good channel," or something like that. But I don't think Lenny subscribed.
I mean, I don't think Steve's posted a video in a while, has he? I think
I
I've
don't
posted more
know.
videos than Steve has recently.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I haven't seen him pop up on the old algorithm on mine because he does pop up quite a bit on mine. But yeah, no. But I don't know. I mean, I know there's some other channels that just pop in my head and go, I haven't seen that one for ages, and I'll go have a look for it, and it turns out they've done about 20 videos. It's just the YouTube algorithm. I don't know what it's up to at the moment. It just makes some channels just disappear. There's some I used to watch loads of, and I haven't seen that SoCal Railway, the American one that I recommended many moons ago.
Yeah,
I haven't seen a video by that guy in months, and he does one almost every other day.
yeah. I was going to say he's popped up loads on mine.
Well, he's just Crook Street loves it. YouTube absolutely loves playing Crook Street videos to me to the point where I'm now going, I think I've watched this one.
That's the other thing it started doing with me is YouTube has started playing. If I've watched a video, rather than going, here's something new, it goes, here's a video that came out 4 years ago by this same person. Why didn't you watch that? It's like, I've watched this one.
Yeah, yeah, it just sticks to the channel. It's like, where's the variety, YouTube? I mean, I quite like this channel, but let's mix it up a bit. Find something else for me to watch. Find something new that I might like, because isn't that the whole point of this? Or maybe that's how it's sort of fallen into that trap because it follows what it works out what obviously what we watch. So if you watch something and you liked it and you went to watch something else, then I watched that video that you liked. It should then go tell me to watch that video you liked. But if someone started watching someone's video playlist, and it went, oh, you like that one, and then you watch that one by that guy, and then you watch that one. Oh, all right, I'll do the same with this person, and then that starts doing that. And because we all have it on in the background, leaving it on autoplay, then we all start doing it, and the algorithm then thinks that's the right thing to do. Just keep playing videos from the same channel. So
It
I don't know.
mine suggests an unreasonable amount of American layouts to me, which whilst I enjoy them, they're not my bread and butter. Like there's there's stuff that are sat in my watch later, and where I haven't had as much time to sit and watch YouTube for a while, you'd think that it would start playing stuff like that, but it hasn't. And little things like so I got the new Nintendo Switch, and I watched one video on how to unlock a character, and now all it does is tell me cheats and all this sort of stuff. I'm like, I don't want this. I don't want this at all. If I wanted to cheat, I'd search cheats.
Yeah, yeah, exactly the same. I watch some video on some sort of Star Wars rumor or Lego Star Wars rumor, and then the next thing, the algorithm, the home channel's just this Lego Star Wars. And like the worst thing with the Lego Star Wars videos is if one person has told you the rumor and they're going, oh yeah, you know that TIE fighter from Andor, that's coming next year. That's going to be a set. Right, so they've announced it. Then the other 90 Lego Star Wars channels all watched that video and went, "Oh, is it? Right, I better make a video." So then they all make a video, and then you just like, "You want to watch this video?" It's like, I really don't need to watch it because I've already watched one person tell me this rumor. I don't need to watch 90 other people tell me the same rumor, only for it to not be true. So, yeah, I don't know. It doesn't why it does it, but yeah, I want YouTube to give us new different videos, channels I haven't seen. He does it sometimes for me, and then don't know, other times it doesn't. But
It's weird, isn't it?
yeah,
Um,
I did bring up a really lovely video on the Talakilin Railway. It was a 2 hour video of the history of the Talakilin Railway, um, and that was a great watch. And I just had it on the background, and yeah, I learned a few little things I didn't know about the Talakan Railway. Can I recite them to you right now, what I learned? No, I cannot because I don't have that kind of memory. However, come back to me in 8 years' time when long-term processing is finally finished, and I will be able to tell you a few little details that I learned about that railway that I didn't know. We can get back on topic. Lego trains is such a bizarre one to me because, like I say, I know a lot of people who like trains who like Lego. Steve, the British railroader, he likes Lego, and he likes trains. There we are. And yeah, this don't Lego don't ever seem to really tap into that market. They bought the crocodile locomotive out, and they've got the Orient Express, which is I'm not sure what the loco's based on because it's a Lego Ideas design. So essentially, you as a Lego fan, you can make a model, you can submit it to Lego on the Lego Ideas page, and if it gets so many votes, I think it's like 10,000 votes, they'll then consider it as a set to be made, and then you get a little percentage of the profits from it. And that's where the Lego Orient Express has come from. And but the original loco was a proper French. I don't know what type it was, but I recognised it as a French loco. And now it's this smaller blue logo. I don't know if it's based on anything, but yeah, I mean, you see like those the Lego train groups that get invited to exhibitions now, and so rightly they should because their models are amazing.
oh, they're
Um,
phenomenal.
I don't know. I think I just feel Lego are missing a trick with not doing more Lego trains. I mean, a Lego Flying Scotsman. I mean that I'm not Flying Scotsman's biggest fan, but I mean, I know they did one called the Emerald Knight, which was slightly based on the Flying Scotsman, and
Mm.
I don't know if that was some sort of copyright issue, maybe because I think the National Railway Museum hold all the copyright on Flying Scotsman these days. But again, I just feel missing a trick, and I think the way Lego is modeled these days, to quote the Lego movie, I'm using it in an adult way. And yeah, it's completely different to when we were kids and it was all blocky and the Lego trains were still fun as a kid, but nowadays, I mean, what people can build is just incredible. And I don't know why that market hasn't been tapped into. Maybe just Lego Star Wars is just too popular that we can't spend our money on trains and Star Wars.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess the franchises are where I'd assume that's where Lego's money's at, or at least for the collector side of it.
I think the superhero stuff and the Star Wars stuff is probably their biggest sellers. And I think the Lord of the Rings has still got a bit of a market because they keep bringing out the adult sets at about £400 a set.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they look good, but again, I have to draw the line somewhere. So I can't collect everything.
Just
I'd
prefer
like to, but I can't.
amazing. I guess we should probably talk about model railways whilst we're here.
Well, Lego trains is model railways.
No, I know. But unfortunately, there's no new Lego train sets. But we finally have some sort of news for our listeners this week, which is difficult because we're recording early due to time constraints for the next few weeks. So what's going to happen is we are going to finish recording this, and then there's going to be a plethora of new announcements later on this week.
Yeah, that's exactly how it's going to go. But there we are. Once again, companies, maybe we just need to email the companies and go, can we be on your mailing list for news? Are we good enough that you'll trust us not to let anything leak? Because, we haven't told anybody about that West Country Acura scale we're doing.
Oh God. Oh no.
Just to clarify, we have no idea if they're doing one or not.
Oh, I've come out in more sweats simply because I know, I now know that Akira Scale know about us. They know about us. Whether they listen to us is a very different thing, but I know for a fact that they are aware of our existence.
Well, they should. I gave Richard a coaster. Done bumped into Demu last year. It's like, here you go, have a coaster. Come on
Yeah.
if you like.
Oh God. Honestly, I've come
This is
out in
just the kind of
such.
attention. This is the kind of attention seeking we need to do. You see, because now Curious are going to pay attention because we're just going to start saying that they're making products that they may or may not be making, and eventually they will get in contact with us, most likely through a solicitor, but at least we got their attention.
But once again, I'm not sure if that's a good idea. However, um, go on then, James. Let's talk about the one piece of news that we do have for this week whilst we are recording.
The one piece of news is that if you are a fan of Donald and Douglas, and you felt that you missed out on those Caledonian 812s and that lovely Caledonian blue livery, either it's original or it's preserved, and you watch Joseph, that model railway guy, and he runs it around quite often, his layout, and you're sitting there thinking, oh, I really wish I got one of them. Well, lucky for you, Rails are going to sort you out by bringing back both variants in the Caledonian blue, so you can have either preserved or the original. And yeah, they are now available to order with a £30 deposit, and you can get them with DCC sound or not. DCC ready is at £214.95, and DCC sound £329.95. I haven't double checked. I'm assuming it's the exact same running numbers as before. I mean, the reserve one must be because that's 828, isn't it? That's the only one surviving.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, they've got the original 828 as well. So, I think that's great because obviously that will go with the Rapido Caledonian single wheeler and the various Rapido Glaswegian, would it be North British called Caledonian? They should be Caledonian, wouldn't they? Caledonian, I mean, maybe they swap coaches, but I don't know. But Caledonian coaches that can go with it. I mean, yeah, Scottish Steam, like for Era 2, is getting quite well looked after at the moment. I think we've got that Jones Goods as well. Um, it's also very tempting, isn't it?
It's very pretty. And I've said it before, back when we used to do those Fight Club things. I'm a big fan of the tender engines that are 060s, this being one of those that I think is gorgeous. Do I have one? Or will I buy one? No, but it doesn't mean that I can't appreciate its
That's because it
beauty.
doesn't TT.
Yeah, but I do still have, just to clarify, I do still have my Akira Scale Pannier on order. I do still have my Daypole 14XX on order. I do have double O gauge stuff. I've still got this massive bridge. Um, it's simply a case of I'm now far more picky because it needs to be something that can go on a 4x4 circular layout. I mean,
No,
by all means, bring out more stuff in TT. I'll be happy. I am seriously lacking in an 80s, 90s freight loco.
well, we got the 37 on the way.
Yeah, and I've got one of those pre-ordered as well. Like I'm happily sat waiting for it. But I mean, funnily enough, one of the videos that will be coming out in the next few weeks is a wish list video that I've made to try and fill the channel up a little bit. At least try and make sure that I'm constantly putting stuff out.
That's fair enough, isn't it? Yeah, I think it's there are a few little. I know it's difficult. There's three manufacturers, Revolutions in there as well. We've got Hellion obviously picking up the Deltic and the bubble car, and Hornby are getting things out. It's got to be tough, isn't it? Because when you think about it, like back in the days of Triang on Hornby Double O, there wasn't as many locomotives or variety in the modelling market as there is nowadays. Because obviously most people then would either model something from the big four, which was I think probably the most popular because again it's that nostalgia thing, or there'd be the BR modelers of Steam, and then you'd probably have like the Era 2 modelers as well, and that's pretty much it. And and now we've got all them, and then we got the 70s BR blue period, the 80s sectorization period, the 90s privatization period, the noughties changeover of privatization. Nowadays, the next evolution of privatization. Then we're soon to be having Great British Railways. That will be the next era of modelling. So yeah, when people are like, "Oh, why don't they make this in TT and this in TT?" You have to consider that it's like, yeah, well, it's a humongous timeline to cover.
Oh,
So
big, huge, and
just be patient.
it's why I'm not sat here complaining about anything because at the same time I don't need any new locos or anything like that because I need to finish the actual layout. That's the main thing I need to finish.
Well, that's
Um,
the other thing, isn't it? It's the other plays. Oh, this is coming out, I can't afford it. It's like, well, at least in TT, something comes out, and then you have to wait like, a few more months until the next thing comes, and you actually can save your money to buy these things.
exactly, and
Unless it's
I'm
Mars logo blue 50, if you didn't get that straight away, it's gone.
I've
And the
I've
OA.
got I've got two of them, but one of them is going to be changed into a Network Southeast. So, sorry anyone who didn't pick one up.
Oh, good. I'm glad you're doing that. That means a Network Southeast one's coming from Hornby soon. Excellent. Get onto that one then.
Yeah,
Talking about getting onto things, shall we get on to our main topic for the week?
yes, I do just quickly want to. We do this every now and again. James and I hit milestones where we are very, very grateful for everybody who is listening at home. We also know that a lot of our listeners aren't on Instagram, so this is especially for those of you who aren't on Instagram or may have missed it on Instagram. James and I got a notification from Spotify the other day to notify us that we have hit 50,000 streams or downloads or listens on our episodes. And whilst to some of the big YouTubers out there, this may be a small amount, James and I are exceedingly happy and very, very grateful to everyone who listens to the show because without you listening to our show, we wouldn't have massive notifications like this that to James and I actually mean a considerable amount. And whilst it may not mean it to other people out there, it means a lot to us. So from the bottom of my heart and my poor little editing fingers of editing this podcast weekly, a big, massive, massive thank you.
Indeed. Yes, thank you very much. And does that mean you're just putting out a job out there for a podcast editor? Can we afford to get one in now? Is the patron money enough?
Yeah, so what we're doing is we'll do £5 an episode to whoever wants to edit it for us. Actually, I'm not sure we need to do that. I have because I've got the joy of there's about 3,000 slanderous things I say per episode, and usually only three or four make it to each episode. So James is always completely confused that I haven't annoyed as many people as I have. So maybe I'm not ready to relinquish that creative. What's the word? I'm just not ready to relinquish that just yet. But if you are interested in editing the podcast, let us know because that might be something we'd be willing to pay someone for.
Exactly, because at the moment, if I mention your other YouTube channel, what's it? You'll edit it out.
I will. You're right. And there we go. So those of you at home, you'll just have missed about 5 minutes of me explaining something just to make James feel bad. He probably doesn't. But
Yeah, I don't get that because I mean the Beastie Boys. I mean they got a bit of a bang, but they still did all right, didn't they? I think one of them got allowed back in the country, so I think it's a poor excuse to be honest.
if you're interested in knowing, I might make it a Patreon only. Patreon only thing. I'm surprised you didn't mention the other YouTube channel because that is probably the weirder one out of the two.
I'm saving that one. I'm going to save that. I think we can all talk about that on our final episode, but no more said about that one yet. I think because I haven't watched the videos, but I know the up and coming guests have. Yeah, we'll save that for then, and we can talk about the supposed new model railway exhibition centre that's coming.
Oh, don't poke the bear yet, James. We need to do more investigating.
Yeah.
Oh, this intro is going to be a nightmare for me to edit.
I didn't say anything. I didn't mention a name.
But yes, that'll certainly be a really interesting talking point in our future, James.
There we are. Right, shall we go talk about model railway magazines?
Yes, let's.
Let's go offset them.
Oh, that's lovely. Ooh. 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 Yeah, look at that. That's dirty. That is filthy.
Sir, you can't get that out right now. Not in the middle of a dinner party.
Why not? I want to show it to all of my guests.
I'm afraid it's just not appropriate, sir.
Nonsense, Wilson. Ladies and gentlemen, look at that.
I say, has he whipped out his dirty shunter for us all to see? You can get your models weathered by Emperor's Path using just the airbrush for a light dusting, or alternatively, oil paints and airbrush to add that extra depth. Contact Emperor's Path on Instagram at emperors_path, or alternatively, emperorspathcontact@gmail.com. Emperor's Path Weathering. If it's not dirty, let's fix that.
Only Emperor's Path makes it that dirty.
Sam, have you ever been published in a magazine?
Um, that's not what I was expecting. Technically, yes, but not for model railways, although it is a dream. Have you?
Well, I mean, I've made it to the 009 journal.
That's good.
Yeah, it was. You know what? I felt very pleased with it. It's the 009 journal, which is for us small, like-minded narrow gauge modelers. But yeah, I was very happy to get in there. And yeah, I think it's quite the achievement for anyone to get into a magazine. But I suppose the question is, do magazines actually have any relevance to the hobby today? I thought that could be a good starting point for a topic. So, what about you then? Did you how have model rail magazines influenced your lifetime in railway modelling? You used to get them when you were a kid. Do you still get them now?
So I'll answer the last question first. So I don't really pick them up now unless the front page is something that I'm really interested in, or there's a friend or layout that I know personally who's in it. So for example, the last one I picked up was actually Danny's issue of Hornby magazine, but it tends to be sort of I don't pick them up as much as I used to. However, as a child, I used to that was my way of vicariously living through model railways or having a model railway hobby, because I didn't really have a proper layout or constantly buying locos or anything like that when I was little. I used to get the magazines and I'd just look at all the layouts in there and I'd be absolutely in awe of all the different things. And I almost used to treat it like the Argos catalogue or the Index catalogue when we were younger. And I'd used to circle the things I wanted and I used to just sort of leave it on the kitchen side in hopes that one day at Christmas or a birthday, one of these locos would turn up. Evidently, they never did. But I think the magazines especially are very important for a lot of the inspiration that I've had in the model railway hobby. And I don't like to necessarily pick favorites, but one of them specifically had a small branch line. What I really like about them is when they do sort of like a how-to series, especially if they're spread over several episodes. And I used to always be hooked on those. And there was one that really brought me into the hobby big time when they did a small terminus station layout, and like you could follow along at home, and they taught you how to do all these little bits and bobs and stuff like that. So they do have a poignant place in the hobby, and they are definitely responsible for my younger years of sort of just those days where you used to just sit and read the magazines over and over and over again. Like that's where magazines really played a big part for me. How about for you?
Yeah, I remember growing up with the magazines because my dad used to buy them all, particularly Railway Modeler, and there was, I think, Model Rail Enthusiast, and I don't know if that became BRM because I think it was that one was about, and you sort of Model Rail came a little later. I think that was about 1997. Model Rail come along. But yeah, I remember being as a very young kid. It was always railway modeler, like you say, because these were the days before the internet, and so for ordering locos, it was either going to the local model shop and putting an order in from the Hornby catalogue. Because I mean that's something we can cover on this is the relevance of the catalogue. Do you need that anymore? But back then, exactly the same. You get the Hornby catalogue and you go look through that, and I want that one, and I want that one, I want that one, and you can go through the Brown model and be like, I think Hatton's just had pages and pages of listings, and then you'd have to mail order, send off, and tell them what you wanted, or phone them up and put the order in. It was just sort of a bit of a different time, but I always enjoyed looking at those magazines as a kid. Um, and I've still got a few copies of ones that have really stuck in my mind.
Mm.
There's one, I'm going to say the wrong date now. I think it's May 1997 of Railway Modeler. And I've always loved that one because there's a layout in it called Littleton Curve, which is this tiny little N-gauge layout of a circular track with a two-road fiddle yard at the back and one siding. And it fits in a baseboard size of roughly, I think, 2'6" by 2'6".
Hmm.
And I always found that really inspirational, that little layout, and I've kept that one. It's always been with me. And yeah, I don't know. There's something quite nostalgic about the magazines. I think after a while, you sort of go back go back and look at them, and it sort of brings back a few memories of like the times gone by. I've got I've got a model rail from 2010. I just kept hold of. I don't really know why it's stuck in my mind. It's got this nice West Coast mainline layout going for it. I can't remember what month it was. And it was at a period where I was still working back at home where my mum and dad lived. So I was living there in the week, and I was then going back home to my house in Oxford, where I just moved in with my wife, and I still got that one. I don't know, just it feels a bit nostalgic, and it's not the best issue of Model Rail. There's definitely better copies out there that they've produced, but yeah, I think there's something about them, and I always enjoy looking at the photos and stuff. Um,
I think they're really good for inspiration, and like you say, the fact that you can go back to them and you'll have different views and opinions of them. I've one that stuck in my head is a Hornby magazine that had, I can't remember for the life of me what the name of the layout was, but it was my first look at an Inglenook shunting puzzle, and it was the one where the selling point that the creator had was that it would fit on an ironing board, and it used to, and what really hooked me on it was they had a little camera at the end of it. And this is back in 2012 when this sort of technology was just becoming more readily available, like small cameras that you could just sort of put that weren't webcams. And the two locos that he always pictured running it were a pannier tank and a Class 8 shunter, which are two of my favorite shunting locos. And I just remember being like, oh, that's the perfect layout for me because I could do that and fit it in a really small space because I think they put it on a 4 foot by 1 foot board, which is really, really tiny in the grand scheme of things, but it worked. I do still have loads of magazines downstairs, and like you, I've kept the ones that are really important to me. I've got the issue of Model Rail where is it Model Rail? Pretty sure it was on Model Rail where Sanford East was in it because for me one of my favorite things is that the center fold in that issue is not only that Sanford East, previous guest on the show, but also it's my Class 56 that I weathered for them. And for me, it was I just sort of opened it and I just remember seeing in a full page spread a loco that I had weathered in this magazine, and I was just like, this for me is such a great thing. But then also I've got like Danny's interview and his talk about creating units and stuff like that, which is big for me. And then I've also got, I'm pretty sure it was Model Rail as well, where Pete from NSE Latchmere, which I've defined as being one of the turning points for me of moving away from diesels and being a lot more orientated with electrics, because I've never seen EMUs and stuff on a layout in such a vast amount. So you're right. I do keep hold of all like these bits that are quite important to me, and I don't know. Maybe am I supposed to be biased in this and say which magazine I'd prefer out of all of them, or is that a bad thing?
I think they've all got their own merits, to be
Hmm.
honest. I'm sure everyone has their own personal preference, and I think as you go through the hobby in your stages of learning and growing, you'll find that one magazine is not quite as suitable as another magazine. I think, you know, and they've all evolved and changed over time. And it's kind of like when I started coming back into the hobby, I think about 2008, around that time, Hornby magazine had just appeared, which was the new kid on the block, and it was quite an interesting magazine, and it was kind of a bit like we were starting at the same pace in the same place sort of thing. We both come back into the hobby, and it was very much introducing you to new ideas of how to build layouts, DCC. There was reviews and stuff, and it was very for me that magazine's felt like it's grown and evolved at the same pace that I have, and I've always followed Hornby magazine just because it feels that way. It no longer feels quite like an entry magazine. It feels like a sort of you're not an established modder. I don't know if that's quite the word. I don't want to say it's not a beginner magazine. It's sort of a you're into the hobby now kind of magazine.
See, I think the opposite. I think Hornby magazine is the perfect beginner's magazine because that, for me, that's the one I've probably kept the most issues of because of their step by step, like their how to build. I've gone and done it now, but effectively, their how to build a branch line terminus station series they did was pivotal because I learned so many skills in building when that series came out.
Yeah, that's it. Well, that's what I mean, though. It's like you've said, you've kept the back issues of Hornby, so it's evolved with your modelling at sort of the same pace, kind of thing. But I think they all do it, and I'm not saying if you're a beginner, don't go buy Hornby magazine, go buy a different one because you may find the Hornby magazine is the perfect magazine for you. Um, it's yeah, it's just that they've all done it. Like BRM, when I say I used to buy Hornby magazine, Railway Modeler. I mean, everyone buys Railway Modeler. That's just like the mainstay of magazines. If you want a magazine, buy Railway Modeler because it's going to have something in there that's going to interest you. Whatever scale you model, whatever era you model, there'll be something in there that interests you, and it's all different wakes of life of various skill of modeling, and I think that's the appeal of Railway Modeler. Um, BRM, I remember like a few years ago, that always felt like it was the high class of the magazines, like it was the elitist modelers magazine. It always felt a bit out of my league, kind of when you looked at what people were doing modeling wise. They'd show you how to build a loco or something, and it'd be some sort of brass kit. You're like, I can't do that. Um, but again, I think BRM has over the years evolved and has become a more accessible magazine to those who are starting in the hobby. And I don't know, maybe it's the way that the hobby has evolved itself, and the magazines have to adapt and evolve to fit. Um, Model Rail. Again, I feel Model Rail is. I think it's always no. When it first came along, but like back in, let's say, 1997, it had various articles, and there was beginner articles of modeling and more expert articles and that. And I think it was trying to find its feet. And I think over the years, Model Rail has become the beginner magazine. I find with all the hints and tips, it's very, very much if I buy it, there's not a lot in the how-to modeling section that I really need because I already know those skills kind of thing. But
Yeah.
if you were a beginner, it'd be a good magazine to start with, I reckon.
Okay. That's interesting. It's so I guess the big question is do you currently or have you ever had a subscription to any of these magazines? Because I've never subscribed. I've always found that I might do it where one month I pick up one magazine, but the next month I pick up a different magazine because the front cover is telling me that what it's got available is more what I'm after. Di- What about you? Are you someone who subscribes to magazines and you stick with the same one, or is it that you subscribe to loads, or do you pick and choose which month which episode, which issues you're purchasing?
So I used to be subscribed to Model Rail, and again, as I say, I felt it got to a point where the articles were no longer aimed at me; they were aimed at a more beginner, and so that one fell away to the side. And if I see something on the cover of Model Rail, I'll buy it. If there's something in that interests me,
Yeah.
I'll buy something. I tend not to. Railway Modeler, as I say, I mean I've been subscribed to that one for years because it's just Railway Modeler, isn't it? Why wouldn't you want Railway Modeler? Hornby magazine. I subscribe to Hornby magazine and I subscribe to BRM. Um, I have my favourite out of them, and it's not. This is tough because I don't. As like I said earlier, like, we're going to upset the magazine publishers. Don't want to put anyone off because I mean we haven't even touched on Model Rail Journal. I mean that's another one. Um, People need to make their own choices on what magazines suit them. And I'm not saying because I like this one you should go buy it, or because I don't like this one you shouldn't buy it. Because as I say, we're all at different skill levels, different interests, and each magazine covers those areas.
Yeah.
Because for me, if it wasn't for Model Rail magazine, I don't think I would have got into Somerset and Dorset as much as I have. Just because they had an issue in August 2011, all on Somerset and Dorset. The whole magazine was just Somerset and Dorset. There was people's Somerset and Dorset layouts. There was track plans for it. There was loco modifications and stuff like that. Photos of the real life railway and a sort of a history on it. I still have that magazine. That's what I went looking for it a minute ago, and I still have it. It's very tatty and a bit. The cover's starting to come off the staples. But that magazine just changed my modeling preference, what I liked, what I idolized. Just from that one publication, and I was like in awe of this railway. I was like, wow, this looks amazing. These you got 9Fs on passenger trains or double headers going over through this beautiful countryside. I was like, yeah, I definitely would love to model that. Um, and that's the thing. Any of those magazines can bring that influence to you. You can be one article in there of a railway or something never even considered, never even thought about, and you read about it, and that's it. Next thing you're hooked. And so yeah, I've over the years I've subscribed to all of them. I haven't subscribed to Model Rail Journal, and I've got nothing against Model Rail Journal. In fact, I have met the publisher because I am friends with his son. So yeah, I think Model Rail Journal is a great magazine. I do, as I say, I know his son, so I do get copies of it. As I don't need to subscribe to that one.
That's
I'm
a good
I'm
reason.
I'm fortunate in who I know. But I mean, Model Rail Journal is definitely what BRM was back in 2010, 2011. It's that higher level of modeling that I think we all try to achieve, and it can be daunting sometimes to look at a magazine like that and you kind of like, I don't know how I could do this. I don't know how I could do that. And yeah, and that's why I think they're all great because they all have their different levels of entry um, for you out there. So yeah,
One thing that I always found quite daunting in the magazines, and you touched upon it when you talk about the um like the kits, it always felt like the second that you saw a kit, I panicked. And this is throughout my entire life. And even now I look at the brass kit locos and it just absolutely scares the life out of me. I don't mind doing it to coaches, but I feel like when it comes to locomotives, I've always been just sort of scared because especially when it's a steam one, where you've got all these coupling rods and all these moving parts that you require almost like a symmetry of it all for it to work. And that sort of was almost a little bit daunting. And I guess the same applies to when you talk about things like people who model P4 and things like that.
I think that, like you said, the brass kit building, especially steam locomotives. I can remember reading articles, and you're like, "Oh, I would love to have that one." And you're sort of looking, going, "I have no idea what you're doing there." But I think they've definitely improved over the years. There's a lot more photos to show you the stages, a lot more information with that to guide you through it. Tony Wright does a lot of those sort of articles, and those familiar with Tony's work know that he's a very, very good kit builder. And it's again, I think it's just the magazine just learning to evolve and meet its audience, and probably with the development of digital photography, that's probably a bit of a game changer for making articles like that. And you go look back through magazines, you can see that because again, the one that popped in my mind, I think an earlier issue of Model Rail, probably around 1998, had an Andrew Barclay kit that they built. And again, I was looking at it going, oh, I wouldn't mind doing that. I mean, I was about 13 years old at the time. It's like, I would have no chance of building it, even though they said it's a very easy, basic kit. Um, and from the top of my head, there was a few photos and details on how to do it, but nowhere as in depth as what you could get nowadays in a railway modelling magazine. And I think that's one of the good things about it is that they have evolved that, and with the probably the use of digital photography, it's allowed a lot more photographs to be in there to show people how to do these things.
Yeah, I agree. Uh, I think talking about digital photography, I think we'd be it would be a silly thing to try and avoid talking about this because I think it is probably the one thing that's actually affecting the magazines more is we live in an age now where we have things like YouTube where the articles about how to do things now are now put into a video format. So you have people who are for free showing you how to build X, Y, and Z. And is that something that's affecting the magazines out there that's actually not killing them off? Because I still think they're doing absolutely fine as they are. But do you think that with YouTube being around, that's massively affecting the magazines out there, or do you think it's helping them?
I think, yeah, and I don't know. I mean, without knowing their statistics of, I mean, I think a lot of people say that the printed press is dying out, and the model railway magazine is dying out, and yeah, I suppose you're right in a way. Why do I need an article in a magazine to read through, which is just doing it through photos and description, when I can watch someone on a video do it and learn it that way? Um, and again, you've got the likes of the internet forums. Why do I need to buy a magazine to look at someone's layout that I don't really have an interest in, when I can just go on an internet forum and just put in my interest in the search bar, and it'll bring up all the other modelers that model the same thing as me, and we could all, share images and have a look. I think it's unfortunate to have that thought and that way about it, because not every a lot of YouTubers admit it. This is my way of doing it. This is how I do it. I'm not telling you to do it this way, kind of thing. Um, and it's again, it's like, well, that's one person's way of looking at it. Now I can go look in a magazine. How do they do it in the magazine? And then deciding for yourself which way might be better, because the magazine version might be the better way of doing it.
Mm.
Um, and again, with the layouts, it's a bit like, when you go to a model rail exhibition and someone goes, "Oh, I don't want to look at that one, it's N-gauge." And it's like, well, why not? I know you don't model an N-gauge, but it don't mean you can't go and appreciate someone's work. Um, it's why dismiss it just because it's not quite for you? And I've looked through magazines, and there's been articles on subjects that I don't have an interest in, amazingly, and but the article is still interesting to read, and the photographs still show this amazing looking layout, and you pick up all these hints and tips from these modelers, because the basic of it is still the same, isn't it? It's still the same baseboards, wiring, track, etc. But it's just the finished product is painted a different color to the color you like, so to speak.
Yeah.
So I'm not a fan of digital magazines. I don't know how you feel about them. I don't. I know they get. I know you can buy them. They're cheaper than the printed copy and that. But I mean, one problem is depending where you work, you can't sit there and have a device out whilst trying to read something. But if it's a quiet moment, a magazine's usually acceptable, kind of thing. Um, but I also feel that the pictures could be more appreciated in print than looking at it digitally.
Absolutely.
And I stare at screens long enough in my life. I don't need another, hour staring at a screen, destroying my eyesight when I could just pick up a physical copy. And I know they've got the downside that they do take up a lot of space because I have this problem every so often. I have to keep going through the magazines. And what I do is I'll remove articles that interest me. Or if the whole magazine was one of interest and I really enjoyed it, I will keep that copy of the magazine. So I have a handful of magazines from over the years where there's been something that I felt it was worthy of keeping the entire magazine. And I like that because, again, it goes back to that nostalgia level of like, I've had those copies of Railway Modeler and I've got a few of them, and they just remind me of when I was a kid. And like you say, you used to sit there and look through the magazines and be inspired by people's layouts. And I also enjoy looking at, and I know you can do it if you were subscribed to Railway Modeler, you can go through their digital. I think BRM as well. You depending on the level of subscription, you can go back through the digital library and have a look at the previous year's magazines, which I think is great. Doesn't quite beat having it in the physical form, but again, I think it's really interesting to go back and have a look at like magazines that were printed in the 1980s or the early 90s and look at the style of modeling and compare it to how we model these days.
Mm.
And you can see why the magazines have evolved the way they have in how they do the articles on how-tos, etc. Because the whole hobby has evolved, and so the magazines do stay relevant and they do keep up with the times. And yeah, I just think it's really fun to just go back and having a look at these older layouts. And I don't know, again, there's something quite nostalgic about it, the way they look, the types of scenic material that was used. You can always look at the photos and you can kind of tell what sort of year the layout was made just by the scenic techniques that's been used. I mean, the models usually give it away. I mean, if it's some sort of lemur model with a big chunky D coupling on the front of it. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if you're the same with that. If you get a bit of nostalgia from the magazines or anything like that.
Oh, absolutely. And I agree. I'm very much, when it comes to the magazines, one thing I think digital magazines lack is the ability to be able to quickly flick through to various bits. So let's say, for example, and I know you can flick with your finger and stuff. The way I can liken it is I love books on a Kindle because I don't have to carry like depending on the book I'm reading, I don't have to carry loads of books around with me. I can just have this one little tablet type device and I can read on that. When it comes to things like railway magazines, and I liken it to sort of Warhammer rule books and stuff back in the day as well. I know that you can get PDF versions, so you don't have to carry all these books around. But one thing, especially when it came to rule books, was that you have to flick between the books to look for different rules and all this sort of stuff. It's not as easy as you think it might have been. And I find with magazines like Model Railway magazines, I like the being able to quickly flick between X, Y, and Z and stuff like that. And one of my favorite things about the magazines that I think they do so much better than online or on a YouTube video is track plans. I used to love looking at the track plans, and I can't remember if all of them do it or if there's a particular one, but I used to love the fact that you'd have the track plan, but they'd have a little photo number next to it. So you could go and have a look at photo number 2 and you'd be able to know that that's from this particular point. And I'd love flicking from page to page and looking at a track plan and going, oh, that's what this looks like in the real picture. And this is that part, this is that section, stuff like that. And I think that's one of the best bits about having a physical magazine versus a digital copy is just being able to flick between, even if it's within the same article in the same magazine, it's just being able to quickly look backwards and forwards. And it's for some reason I've never really clicked with it on the digital form of the magazine, despite the fact it's the same thing.
Yeah, no, yeah, there's definitely something about that physical copy that makes it more enjoyable, I think.
Just being able to go in, like if I wanted to now, I could go downstairs to where the magazines are currently stored in my bookcase, and I could go something as simple as, right, I have a magazine here from 2012 and I have a magazine here from 2021. And just looking at something as simple as looking at the price changes is
That's what's fun,
massive.
isn't
It's
it?
so it's so
Or eye-watering, depending how you want to look at it.
but it is one of those things going, oh, back at this time, because I remember my I've got an old Bachmann uh green BR Shunter '08 that when I bought it, it was one of the weathered ones and it was £50. And it was £50 for that loco. And it was DCC ready and it was such a beautiful thing. And now if you look at that same, I'm quoting model here, because I think mostly it hasn't changed, even if you bought the brand new version of it. But even then, like the price difference between them is eye-watering. And you look at your version and you go, mine's worth so much more now because of the price increases from back then. Um, but that's always a fun thing for me, is just being able to flick between the magazines, looking at different bits, looking at different articles. And like you say, there's a reason the ones that I do still have, there's a reason they've stuck around. And sometimes it's nice going back to those and having a look at those articles, or maybe even going back to the magazine that you've kept because of one article. And actually you come across another one and you go, oh, I don't actually remember properly looking at this one. And then you then spend 5, 10 minutes then having a look at an article that you might have forgotten was in there or you didn't realize was in there because you've kept it for another reason.
Yeah, that's. Uh, I've got a copy of Model Rail. I think it's summer '98, possible, and it's because when Model Rail come along, they did it in a quarterly until they established that yes, people wanted another railway modelling magazine. And it was the magazine that ended up coming on holiday with us to Devon. It was like the only thing I had to read, and I read that from cover to cover because I had nothing else. But every time I get it out and just have a look at it, it gives that. It just brings back the memories of that holiday. I just remember being in the car. I was like, we're driving out towards Barnstable or wherever, and just like looking through the article and having a read of it. And I don't think I'd get that same feeling if I just went back through the back catalogue on a digital copy. Um, I don't think it would bring back the same sort of memories, and that's it's kind of why I do keep some of the magazines now because like you say, it only takes a few years, and you look back and you go, oh, blimey, I remember this one, I remember this, and did it the other day. So as I say, Lenny's got himself the TT HST train set, and he was asking what coaches are going in. I said, I've got a magazine that tells you the formations actually. And I went and dug it out, and I think it's like October 2006 model rail, and it has like the little two-dimensional drawings of the passenger car layout, and again that was just that nostalgia thing of going back from. I remember buying this and looking at this, and sort of reminds you of things. And again, like you say, we're looking at the prices. I was saying to him, going, "Oh, look at the cost of this," and like a free car, turbo star DMU, £74. So you need 300 for that these days. And but yeah, so I like to keep them around, and he likes to look at these magazines, and so maybe one day he'll come into the model room and find them lying about, and he'll just I used to my dad used to keep his up in the loft. And you spend like hours just they'd be under his branch line. He had a little triangular section for a train to turn around on his branch line. He kept all the magazines under there. He used to be under there for hours, just going through the back catalogue of magazines, just having a look at some of the articles, some of the things that sort of inspired you. I remember one layout was it was some kid's layout. He must have been about the same age as me, and you probably look at it nowadays and adult go, wow, that looks rubbish. But it had made it to the front cover. It was the main article in the magazine. And it was just so inspiring because it had like the Hornby Terminus station on it. It had a little section that went off to be a branch line. It was just a roundy train set from what I can remember. But I remember just being in awe of that. And it's just nice to sometimes have those memories that come back. The one I can't find is and I thought it was in Railway Modeller, is a Didcot Parkway style station during the Intercity Swallow era. Um, can't find it for the life of me, but I always remember being inspired by that one and just thinking that looked amazing. But yeah, it couldn't have been a Railway Modeller because I've gone through the entire back catalogue of the 90s trying to find it. And it's not there, so it must be the other one. I got a feeling it could be in Railway Modeler Enthusiast or British Railway Enthusiast, whatever it's called. I think there was a couple in there I quite liked. But yeah, I think that's what's nice about magazines, and I think they still have a relevance, and I think they're still a mainstay of the hobby, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're the kind of thing that every now and again you could go back, you could pick one up, and you'll be like, "This is nice." And you don't necessarily have to have the subscription to it. Where you sometimes you can sometimes with subscriptions feel like you're overwhelmed. Where I haven't even had a chance to read last month's, and then the next one comes through the door, sort of thing. And I think they're
Yeah,
the perfect thing where. And holiday is the prime example where you're going on holiday, and there might be some times where you don't have access to your YouTube or anything like that, but you could sit on the beach and you could read your train magazine or other magazine of whatever sort of thing you're into, and you know that you can read it and you don't need Wi-Fi, you don't need internet to do it. You've got all of these things that you can read at any time with you.
yeah. When I went away last year, because we were in the car and going on the ferry, I was like, well, I can take as much weight as I want. So I think I took the entire pile of my 009 Society journals and I went through all of them because I was looking for inspiration for my layout build, for my next layout build, and yeah, it was great. Had loads of time on my hands to just read through them, just get ideas, look at various layouts, and that's the fun thing about them, I think.
I think you've inspired me to for this summer holiday is pick up one of the magazines for when I go away, just to have a read and just sort of read it cover to cover again. I think it'd be quite nice to sort of go back and do that thing that I used to do. And I used to do it with White Dwarfs as well, which was the Warhammer magazine. I did the same thing. I'd read the same thing over and over and over again, and I'd be fascinated by or if you started a new army and you'd go back to an old issue. And it's very much what we're talking about in the train terms is you might have modeled Great Western Steam and you've kept this issue for this reason, but actually 10 years later you go back to it and actually there's a really nice article in there that relates to 1980s to 1990s BR.
Yeah, that's it, innit? So there we are. Keep your magazines, even though they're going to fill up your house, make you look like a hoarder. We're just collectors in general, aren't we? I mean, my model room's an absolute state, just just for boxes for locos. Please, manufacturers, stop making the boxes so damn big.
Yes, please. Actually, I can't say that. Moving to TT has massively reduced my box sizes, so actually I'm quite happy.
That was the one thing I really liked about modeling in Engage was the boxes were very small and it didn't take up a lot of space to store them. As soon as you start getting bigger, you're like, that's a consideration that no one ever thinks about. Where are you going to keep all the boxes? But maybe that's a topic for another time. For now, I think we should just take a break and come back with our Call Attention Corner.
You there? Oh, me? Do you like model railways? Yes, that's why I'm listening to the Model Rail Replacement podcast. Do you like comedy? No, that's why I'm listening to the Model Rail Replacement podcast. If you like model railways and comedy, head over to BugglesKellyStation.com. From Dad's Army to Will Hay, Laurel and Hardy to the island of Sodor. Add a comedy cameo to your model railway today. All right, thanks. Buggles Kelly Station. You won't be wasting your time.
So there we are. I hope that was an interesting conversation. I hope we've not upset any publishers, and when we get any letters from solicitors, slander or anything like that. But I think we were fair, and we haven't said which ones to buy and what ones not to buy. And if you are a model railway magazine that we didn't mention, then apologies. I think we covered the big five. There may be smaller ones out there. I don't know.
Continental Modeler. We missed that one.
Well, that's covered by Railway Modeler, really, isn't it? I mean, if you like that sort of thing, Steve, that magazine's for you. Although I think Steve, they said it's not not for him. There's too many French layouts in it. Is that what he said? Let's just say that's what he said. Get him in trouble.
Yeah, Steve.
Yeah, can't believe you said that, Steve. So yeah, that's the British Railroader, Pico. If you're not happy about that comment, and there we are. Anyway, yeah, it was a more serious matter. I think magazines, railway modelling magazines, are an important part of our hobby, and it would be a shame if they disappeared.
Yeah, agreed.
The block bell's broken in Call Attention Corner because no one's called attention this week, so I jumped straight into the exhibition diary of the coming weekend of July. Oh my God, it's July. Where's the year gone? It's just I think I've mostly been recording podcasts, but there we are. Friday the 4th and Saturday the 5th, the Wrenbury and District Model Railway Club open doors event at the Wrenbury Village Hall in Colmedley Road, Wrenbury, Cheshire. With its latest project of 009 Cannon's Warfront show. So that sounds good enough already. Great Western Study Group is having a members' day on Saturday the 5th at the Didcot Civic Hall at Britwell Road in Didcot, Oxfordshire. On the 5th, the Pevensey Bay Model Railway Club Model Railway Exhibition at the Victorian Baptist Church in Eldon Road, Eastbourne, East Sussex. The Romsey and District Railway Modeller Society Railway Modelling Open Day is also on the 5th at the Scout Headquarters, Bransfield Road, Romsey, Hampshire. Is that Braish Field? Brashfield? Bracefield?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. Look, if you live there, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't live there, doesn't matter. You're not going. Saturday the 5th, Scarborough Area Model Train, Scarborough Model Railway Show 2025 at the Newbury and Scalby Village Hall, Scalby Road, Scalby, Scarborough, North Yorkshire. 5th and 6th, Pontypool and Bellevon Model Railway Club open days at the Bellevon Heritage Railway at the Furness Sidings. Garn Year. Apologies. I need to know the phonetics because apparently you just read it as the phonetics. There's none of this, E turns A into an A sound or whatever, or the other way, E turns A into an A sound. Yeah, Garnier. I don't know why I'm doing a Scottish accent. I'm pretty certain this is in Wales. Garnier. Blaenhaven. Torafan. Look, if you live in Wales, there's an exhibition around Pontypool. All right, annual Model Railway Club open day. So yeah, that's the 5th and the 6th. I'm really sorry, people of Wales.
He does really try.
It's your own fault for having to refuse to come over to our language. That's all I can say. You're so damn stubborn. You just wouldn't submit to just calling everything an English name. Never mind. I like it really because it gets me to name interesting places on my layout. So, swings and roundabouts. Right then, I know I'm going to carry on before I get myself any more hot water with the people of Wales. 5th and 6th, RailX Buxton 2025 exhibition at the Pavilion Guardians in St John's Road, Buxton in Derbyshire. The Guildford Model Engineering Society, Stoke Park Railway Gala Weekend, and the Leamington and Warwick Model Railway Society Open Weekend, marking 200 years of modern railway. The club rooms at the New House Farm in Knightcote, Southam, Leamington, Warwickshire. Oh, I've made plans for that weekend. Now that's unfortunate. I could have made it, that one. No, never mind. Sunday the 6th, Ilford and West Essex Model Railway Club live steam open day. Adjacent to north side of Chadwell Heath Station. There's another YouTuber I haven't seen for a while. Chadwell. Station Road, Chadwell Heath, Greater London. Sunday the 6th, also the Junction 72A Model Railways Club open day at St Catherine's Priory, St Catherine's Road, Exeter, Devon. The Farnham and District Model Railway Club's 009 open day. But would people stop having such weird spellings this week? Recklesham? What is that?
It's a cheese, isn't it?
Just have no idea. WRECCLESHAM Community Centre. I mean, they picked that as the name of their community centre. Went, that's a good name. People can pronounce that, right? Recklesham. I have no idea. Anyway, it's on the Greenfield Road in Farnham, Surrey. So if you live there, you know what I'm talking about. Man, why did they call it that? Just call it the community centre, the Greenfield Road Community Centre. There we go. We can all pronounce that, right? Worley Model Railway Club, Worley at Home open day at the Worley MRC Club Rooms, Unit 1F, Purcell Drive, Oldbury, West Midlands, and that's all for this weekend. in future, people planning model rail exhibitions, if you could just check the name of where you're booking the venue and make sure that is pronounceable, it would be most appreciated. Because my dyslexia cannot handle some of these names. I'm not having to go to Welsh. I understand that's just a dyslexic's nightmare. But there we go. Right. That's all for this week then, Sam. I think the last thing to do then is to tell people how to find you.
Cool. If you want to find me, you can get me on Instagram at emperors_path. Alternatively, you can find me on YouTube at Emperor's Path or Facebook at Emperor's Path. James, how can we find you?
Find me on YouTube as Western Signalman, Instagram as Western Signalman, and also find the Model Rail Replacement Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and via email at modelrailrp@outlook.com. And use that email if you do want to call attention to Call Attention Corner. If people stop calling attention to Call Attention Corner, then we'll have to think of something else to fill in the end, or just drop the whole thing completely. But there we go. But I tell you what, email suggestions. What would you want it to be? Someone talk to us, please. That's all for this week then. All I can say is that hopefully we've been entertaining, informative, and replaced your model railway, if only just for a little bit. I've been James, and with me has been Sam. Thanks for listening.
This service terminates here. Please ensure you take all of your personal belongings with you.
Hello, listeners. We've got some very exciting news. Do you want to be part of the podcast? Do you want to join the team? Well, an exciting opportunity has come up to allow you to be part of the Model Rail Replacement Podcast. And here's Sam with the details.
This episode is brought to you by Patreon. A huge thank you to our Patreons for their support. If you'd like to help support the show, you can head over to Patreon and search Model Rail Replacement Podcast, where you can show your support and be part of the team.
Hurry, there's unlimited places.